Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It is indeed Wednesday. I'm Peter Martin. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. And in the studio with me, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Barry Ferguson. And we're here to talk European football. So we start with Rangers. Of course, it's nicely poised at 0-0 against Legia Warsaw. Are you sharing any concerns that some Rangers fans about maybe, that goal from Legia Warsaw that could cause problems, or are you confident Rangers can just go and finish the job?
I'm confident Rangers will go and finish the job. They're in a good place at this moment in time, Peter. They're playing good stuff. They're looking solid enough at the back. So I think it's all about just being organised and being respectful of who you're playing against, first and foremost. And I think Rangers will have too much for them going forward. Yeah,
well, Steven Gerrard was talking today about obviously how crucial European football is from a personal point of view and, more importantly, from the clubs.
It's very important. I think when you sign up to Rangers, you have a responsibility to compete on all fronts. And Europe is a big part of that for different reasons. One, to obviously try and add to the history and tradition of the club, and also from a financial point of view as well.
Well, the one thing I love about European matches, there's always a wee story that usually emerges, suggestions that maybe in the Legia camp there's been unrest between the manager and a couple of his players. Always helps along the way, but you've got to discard that. When you look at this Rangers side growing in confidence, Alison, are we at a point where we're all confident that they will make it to the group stages?
I think the balance of the tie is very much in their favour after the result last week. I think the stories about unrest are things that probably go on day to day. I think you just have a window at times when maybe these things come to light if things aren't going so well. I think probably when things go well as a club, you don't tend to hear about them. But I think it's probably one of the great perennials that goes on all the time. But in terms of the tie, I think the balance is very much in Rangers' favour at the minute. I think the fact that they got such a positive result last week over there, that you would expect them now to go on and go through.
And no surprise, Steven Gerrard was quick to distance himself, Alison, from, again, talking about the 3,000 fans that won't get the chance to see it. He doesn't think it'll affect the overall atmosphere. He reckons Ibrox will be rocking. 47,000. Could have been more, but for that ban.
I do think 3,000 is small enough that you can get away with it. I think he's right that you'll probably find that the 47 that are in there will make enough noise to compensate for it any more, and I think it might actually have an impact. But I think he's sick to death of talking about fans and fan misbehaviour and all the rest of it. I think we've had umpteen instances over the last 12 months or so where it's been put to him. I was at Murray Park on Friday, and I got the impression that he was scunnered by it, actually, that he was thinking, where else do we go with it, and what else do we do as a club to request that this doesn't happen? So you can see why the day before a game you think, look, the last thing we want to be talking about here is something negative. You want to be coming out and preparing people for what would be a positive result and positive progression. I think he's probably right to say, let's talk about what we can do and what we're going to put out in the park rather than what we can't control and what's going on round about us.
Yeah, and he's a Scouser. He'll know the word scunnered anyway. I mean, he'll understand the full meaning of it, to be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy. And over and above that, Ali mentioned she was out there. I was out there today. I like listening to him. I think he conducts himself impeccably when he discards all the noise that comes around his ears and just concentrates on what he's good at as a manager. He was mentioning today, he says, we're ready for anything. If they want to do a hard press, we've practiced that. If they want to do a sit-in, we've practiced that. One of the things we've also practiced is penalties.
Yeah, I think you've got it in the modern day. I think it's happening more and more often. But as everybody said, you know, you would like to think they've done the business over there. I'm always worried about a nothing each. You know, an away goal is always crucial, and that's what they'll be telling themselves that they need to get. And then if they were to score, it'd be interesting to see Rangers' reaction to that. And if they were to come back from losing a goal, it would say an awful lot about where Rangers are just now.
Yeah, that's another point he did actually make, is if there was a setback in the game, then Rangers, again, he feels he's got a squad that are able to handle setbacks as well. And the one key issue that the former Rangers captain here will know all about is when you have such a big week with two big games on the horizon, the manager emphasised today that they can't allow themselves to think about what happens on Sunday.
You know, I think when the draw come out, it was nice to have the return leg at Ibrox, and as I said earlier, if we can find our level, and we have done on many occasions at Ibrox, and we can get individual players performing to the maximum, I'm confident we can progress. If we don't, we'll have problems because Leggy are a good team. They're well organised and they've got good players who can hit you. So I think only our maximum will be enough tomorrow.
Yep, so with that in mind, have you ever been in a situation, again, I think you probably on more than a few occasions have been involved in a huge game and then you know that Celtic are on the horizon, Barry?
Yeah, it's happened a few times, but you've got to be professional and realise you've got a European game. Rangers have got a chance of getting into the group stages. They cannot think about Celtic, because if you take your mind slightly off the game on Thursday night, things can happen. You can take away for your performance. So look, I'm sure he's experienced enough. He's experienced it at Liverpool, and he'll be on the players' cases. Listen, forget about the Old Firm game on Sunday. Let's concentrate on doing a job against Legia Warsaw and getting through.
Yeah, there'll be a huge boost if they get through this tie, Ali. Charlie Miller, one of your old teammates, came out, and I know your feelings on it. We've discussed it ad nauseum. But Alison, it just will not go away. Charlie Miller says it's time to give Celtic their full allocation back behind the goal. Barry and I feel strongly about it. I think, you know, Rangers weren't the first to action this. This was elsewhere in the SPFL, most notably at Hibs. But it's killed the Old Firm game for me.
I think it's petty. I think the whole thing is petty. I think Rangers came up with this idea first. Celtic responded in kind. I think it detracts from the game as a spectacle. I think you're showcasing this all around the world. It's the big game that we have to offer. I think it makes it a far better spectacle when you have a stand at Celtic Park and you have a stand at Ibrox. I think it adds to what is already an intriguing occasion, and I don't think at this point in time you should be taking anything to detract from it. I know the reasons why it happened. I think we can look and all come to our own conclusions why the decision was made to do it, but I think it's petty, and I think it's maybe time to move on from it.
I mean, it's killed it for me, Ruffy. I mean, I can't emphasise how strongly I feel about it. I mean, you know, Hibs started it with not giving the allocation to Rangers. And then, of course, we got Hearts rolling into it. And then, of course, Rangers embraced it with the Old Firm game because they were pandering to some people in the Rangers support who were constantly nipping away at them. And the board just folded and decided to go with it. Whether it's for financial reasons or whatever, who cares? They've killed it. And until they reverse it, I don't think we'll ever see those great games with those great atmospheres again. 800 fans is a nonsense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, any games you go, even if you go as a neutral and you go into the stadium, you've never been there before, and you see the two sets of fans giving it loudly with their songs before it, both sets having a
respectable
bit of banter.
songs, giving it loudly with respectable songs.
I know
he will. He built it up there as if it was. You know what? I was waiting on Dorothy just opening the door to the all yellow, greens and blues and purples.
No,
the half decent songs.
There is a great deal of humour as well. You know, between the two of them. You know, depending what's going on. But no, but I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, they have songs that we do like hearing them singing. Yeah. Both sets.
What's your favourites, Robbie? Don't bother. Give him a shovel, will you, Ali? Anyway, no, I take your point. I just think they should be there, Barry. It just does my head in.
I think if you ask any player, I certainly played at Ibrox. When I was playing, I can only go with my experiences. And when I ran out that tunnel and obviously went to our side, the right side, it was great. There was 7,000-8,000 Celtic fans baying for your blood. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere, they made it. Yeah. And I just hope as Alison says, is sit round the table and go over this and sort this out. Because honestly, you could ask any player that's played, and it makes a difference.
Yeah. The other thing is about it, sometimes actually when you're on the show, there's a telepathy that kicks in, Ruffy. I mean, you actually can second guess when somebody says something, and you almost telepathically, you can talk to somebody without actually saying words. And when Barry says, when I ran out the tunnel and I ran to the right side, oh, that's their supporters. I was actually going to jump in and go, were they on the right side? I didn't bother. Were you there? I was there, Ali. I know what you mean. I'm only winding you up. Anyway, apart from anything else, there's a European match to talk about which involves Celtic against AIK. We'll discuss that after we have a look at the quiz. Just out of curiosity, you don't need to give me the answer, but I'll look at the two younger members of our team. Are you on the case with this quiz? Have you got the name?
Yep.
You've got the name, Ali?
I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. I'm going to let you think about it a bit more. So Celtic against AIK Stockholm. They've got 2 goals of a lead, and they're still on the hunt in the transfer market. Moritz Bauer has been signed. Is he covered to El Hamid?
I would think so. I think there are no other real options at right back apart from Anthony Ralston. So I think it was. I don't think there's any great surprise that there was another full back coming in. I still think they might bring in another left back before the window closes too. But it's an interesting one. It's a name that Celtic have been linked with for quite a while. Actually, I think over the last 18 months in various transfer windows, this name's come up a couple of times. So he's clearly been on the radar of the club. And we'll see what happens. I think there'll be another full back, and I think there'll probably be at least another 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2 the reason why I mentioned that, we've been talking about transfers non-stop. Celtic still managed to take it right down to the wire, Ali, on this one. Do you think they're going to get it in the neck if they don't get them in? Because you're talking left back, possibly striker, maybe midfielder?
I think they're already getting it in the neck. I think from the minute that they went into these qualifiers, the Champions League qualifiers, without having really brought players in, I think there was already a degree of unrest about it. I think from a personal point of view, I think if you have Champions League qualifiers, I think January is probably the most important window for you. I think that's when you maybe want to be doing your groundwork and bringing in players that you can bed into your team so that you hit the ground running in July, because I think there's an argument to be made that they're the most important games of your season. They underpin the tone of your season. I think if you go out the Champions League, I think there's a hangover. I think if Celtic go out the Europa League, it would be almost unimaginable for the club. And I think regardless of whether they bring players in or not now, the manner of when they've done their business is always going to invite criticism, I think.
Yeah, and they're waiting again, Ruffy, to see how Rosenberg are faring. Berger Melling is a left back that they might look towards if they can't get Greg Taylor, which I think is astounding,
Yeah, well, he obviously impressed any time we've seen Rosenberg. I mean, Rosenberg had been Champions League in and out, and he's been part of that. So he is, he's got a bit of a pedigree, and I would rather somebody signing permanently than these loans that they seem to be delving in, because you never know what you're getting.
Yeah, if anything, Barry, never mind a manager coming in nowadays, and you know this yourself because you obviously, in a management role to a lesser degree at Kelty Hearts, have to look and think, okay, I've got a list of players I want in, and I've got to go and watch them, or you've got to get somebody to watch them and give you the first stage of advice. Celtic and Rangers recruitment policies, and lots of clubs' recruitment policies, are scrutinised, looked at with a microscope on who's picking the players first and foremost, and then does the manager actually go and see them play? At Celtic's recruitment policies come under a fair bit of criticism of late.
Yeah, but for me, it's the manager that picks the team, so he's got to pick the player. And I'm sure that, look, Lenny's the type of character that I'm sure he wouldn't let somebody go out and dictate to him who's going to come in. I don't know him really well, but I know what type of character he is, and he strikes me as the type of guy, it's his decision. I know I'm hearing people that some of the players at Celtic have signed that are not his signings. I'm not buying that. I'm sure Lenny is the type of guy to say, right, I'll have him or I'll not have him.
Yeah,
that's the way it's got to work, Peter.
Yeah.
The manager's got to, because it falls on the manager. As I says, the manager takes the brunt of the criticism, whether they're not playing well or either they're getting beat, and he'll take the plaudits when they're winning games. So it's got to come down to the manager for me, who picks and chooses who he's going to sign.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is one of those definitives. 100%. That's how it happens. I think what's happened is somewhere along the line there's a break in the chain here, because you don't buy two players at 10 million and stick them on the bench, and I know for a fact these two players were on his list before. They were on Celtic's list last season, and Brendan Rodgers wanted to embrace one of them, but he definitely didn't want to embrace the other one.
He's got to tick it off. He's got to tick the signings off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think him leaving them on the bench spoke volumes at the time.
Yep, it did. And if you're going by Rangers and Celtic, their signing policy, I think Rangers' signing policy was really good. He's obviously done his homework early doors, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Coming into the January, February, and thinking this is where I need to strengthen. I need to go and recruit. And he'd done his business really early, which helps, as Alison mentioned. You get them in the first day of pre-season, they get to know their teammates, they get to know what way they're going to be playing, they get to know what Rangers is all about. I'm just surprised at Celtic's signing policy.
Yeah, he wants to bring in his old mucker Tommy Johnson, Allison, to try and scout out a few players. I think when you're in and you're pulling together a team, you need a few trusted lieutenants.
Yeah, I think so. But the one for me that I think hasn't been spoken about too much is John Park. I think when Brendan Rodgers came into the club, he quite clearly wanted to bring in his own men, and Lee Congerton came in. But I think John Park, for all that there were misses in there, I think there were far more hits and plenty of successes. And I think that's a guy that Neil Lennon had a very trusted connection with. You go back to the likes of Wanyama and Foster the first time, and Gary Hooper, and there was a fair few success stories there. And I think that's what you need. I think you need a face of your recruitment policy, and I think there has to be a very clear and transparent chain of where that goes, who speaks to whom. I think we remember Lennon talking about going to see Virgil van Dijk, I think upon the recommendation of John Park, and having watched a few DVDs. And I always remember actually Lennon saying no. I remember thinking, why is no one else picking him up? Why has he been knocked back by a couple of clubs? I want to go and see for myself, to make up my own mind and say, no, within 15 minutes I knew he was a player and we wanted him. But I think you have to have that relationship, I think, and that comes through trust.
Yeah.
And it comes through an understanding of what you want for your team, and communication, and being able to know that someone's going out to bring in the type of players that fit the style you want to play.
Yeah, okay. Just one little footnote, I'm going to get Ruffy's thoughts on it, of course. Steve Clarke mentioned that possibly Craig Gordon looked as if he was actually on his way out at international football. This was an interesting quote coming in. I'm not putting words into Craig's mouth, but he's getting a little bit older, maybe a bit closer to retirement. If the worst came to the worst and there were injuries in the goalkeeping department, I know Craig would slot in fine, so it wouldn't be such a big issue. Goalkeeper is an area where maybe we don't have too much strength and depth, and we need to have a look at different people at different times. I think he's signalling the end for Craig Gordon. I just wonder, what the future holds for Craig Gordon in the summer at Celtic as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, he's holding his counsel very, very quiet, and I'm sure he will have something to say at some time. The things that have happened to him in the last 2 or 3 weeks is absolutely incredible. You think back to the time when he could have went to Chelsea, and earned a lot of money, but he never. He held back, and then obviously he's waited all this time to get in to Maine. And he gets in, and now he drops him immediately, and then says, "But I want you to play in the European tie next Thursday."
Yeah.
The players are players, unless they've had a chat and whatever Neil said to him, he's quite happy with. But I think deep down, I don't think he'll be too happy, and they shouldn't have gave him the 54th cap anyway.
Yeah, put you 4 ahead of yourself, which really kind of left you miff. And over and above that, Ruffy, tell us how a goalkeeper thinks when he's been dropped, Ruffy.
Well, it's not the fact you've been dropped. I wasn't dropped that much, but the circumstances of it all, you know, to wait, was it 6 months to get in at Celtic? You get in, you get a game, and then all of a sudden he's made a decision, no, you're not good enough, but you're good enough to play in the European game.
I think the fact the announcement came when
He's
that
got
game
round
was
the
going
park.
on.
Yeah. He's out in the park while you're sitting in the dressing room and they're
And bring him out at half time and things, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wouldn't happen here. Anyway, let's crack on. Thanks to, just before you go, and I must just quickly, Rangers, scoreline.
Rangers to go, scoreline. I think Rangers will win with a couple of goals.
Rangers.
Oh no, I think Rangers will go out and goal different.
Oh, you kept that right to the end, so Barry can't. Look at Fergie's face, by the way. He's raging. Celtic against the IK?
1 each.
1-0 Celtic.
Yeah, I think Celtic have enough to get through.
Okay, let's get out of here before Barry completely loses the head on this one. Thanks to Barry Ferguson, Alison McConnell, and of course Alan Ruff. Don't forget you can follow us across all these social media outlets, get interacting with us on Twitter and Facebook, and of course, as well as Facebook Live on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe there, you'll get all the notifications on our unique one-to-ones and also some of our great content and our programmes on a regular basis. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. From all my guests, hopefully you've enjoyed the show, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.